So it's no secret that the popularity of old school metal is in decline, as many of these bands start to retire, lose the ability to play, and get replaced by more modern, relevant bands. However, classic metal will always hold a very dear place in my heart, as it's the music that really got me into guitar in the first place. So today, we're going to be doing a super nerdy deep dive into the world of traditional old school heavy metal, analysing its essential components and how bands like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest and Black Sabbath achieve their instantly recognisable sounds. So grab your ECD chords and let's do this. Riffs are probably the most important part of classic metal. It's often the main hook of the song and usually the most recognisable part of it. The most iconic riffs and leads are often the ones with hooky, singable melodies. These appear many times throughout the song and help tie everything together. Here are some great examples of this. All of these examples were standalone melodies, not really related to any other melody of the song. It's also really common to make the riff the same melody as the verse, with some of the most famous examples probably being Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden and Iron Man by Black Sabbath.
White man came across the sea.
It's also common to have the whole song revolve around the main riff, where instead of building to a vocal chorus, they'll have a repeating riff section that acts as a kind of hook with a verse, riff kind of structure. If you'd like to learn more about all of the concepts talked about in today's video and unlock access to my entire archive of guitar exercises, masterclasses and song lessons, then click the link in the description down below and get started at Bradley Hall's Guitar School with a free 7-day free trial on me. Aside from singable or catchy riffs, there's also plenty of iconic ones that are more intricate with faster and more complex melodies. Like the riff to Rapid Fire by Judas Priest, that's basically a metalcore riff using a pedal tone and fast short notes over it. And here are some other pretty interesting examples. Classic metal isn't all about speed though. Some of the heaviest riffs are usually slower and more doomy. This is super apparent in very early doom metal bands such as Black Sabbath and Witchfinder General. That last riff uses a resource that's very iconic in this era of metal, which is reinforcing the melody with power chords moved in parallel motion. This makes the riffs bigger and more harmonically dense, so it sounds bigger and more harmonically dense. As well as reinforcing the melody, it also often works as a more rhythmic resource, placing the accents and shaping the rhythm of the riff. The other essential part of classic metal are the driving and straightforward riffs. These often lack much of a melody and emphasize more of the rhythmic aspect. Fast, single-note riffing is a staple of this style, much like it's done later in thrash and speed metal. You often hear a mix of palm-muted single notes with open power chords to create sharp accents. These riffs slowed down can also sound more stompy and butt rockier. All this riffing is really cool and all, but the guitars can't be doing backflips throughout an entire song. When the vocals come in, guitars need to take a step back and leave some room, and probably the most common way to do this is with fast, single-note chugs. This cuts out a lot of the mid-frequencies often occupied by guitars, which leaves a lot more dynamic range for the vocals. The most typical way to do this is by placing the accent on the beat, very iconic of Black Sabbath. But sometimes the accent is placed on the offbeat to get a more groovy, syncopated feel instead. Then obviously, of course, you have the signature Iron Maiden gallop rhythm. The key to keeping things interesting is mixing up these different riffing styles and rhythms to keep things varied. Mixing the dumb and simple with more dynamic playing to interact with the vocals. For example, Aiming High by Accept is an example that stays with just the 16th note thing and barely changes. Whereas Judas Priest are very good at mixing all these different ideas together to create super dynamic lines that tie together.
Pounding the world like a battery. Wielding the axe comes the one culmination.
So needless to say, there's no shortage of iconic solos in this era, even though most of them stick to a pretty similar formula of bluesy pentatonic wankery, sometimes mixed with big slower leads and fast Ritchie Blackmore style licks. Also, we can't forget the super iconic double lead guitar melodies by thirds or sixths to get that big dueling guitar sound, typical of Iron Maiden or Judas Priest. In terms of chords, most classic heavy metal uses pretty much the same harmony, with straightforward minor key progressions that keep going back to the one chord. Probably the most iconic and repeated one is the flat 6, flat 7, 1 progression.
Run your fingers down the wall and happy about your next game call when you're searching for the light. Well, we both know what memories can bring every time as you run.
Here are some other examples of songs with different progressions that still use simple and static minor harmonies.
I was completely wasting out of working down. Too many people do not know. Bonded, sometimes to the wall. As the arrow out of line, we'll see you inside. The guardians of blood, played up through the ice and snow. I've sat alone and watched her screaming. She was the princess of the night.
It's also not uncommon to use the Mixolydian mode for a more butt rocky sound.
Run to the hills. 666, the number of the beast. Generals gathered in their masses.
Of course, there are a few notable exceptions, such as Gates of Babylon by Rainbow, which has a heavy Phrygian dominant sound.
Look away from the sea. I can take you in.
Cheers guys, I sincerely hope you enjoyed this super nerdy deep dive. This is the sort of content that I'm mostly going to be doing over on this channel from now on. So if you're enjoying it, then please do be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be notified when I upload more. Cheers and happy shredding!